Okay, so let's just jump right in. We all know the music industry can be an absolute minefield. For every mega superstar, there are just thousands of incredibly talented artists who get chewed up and spit out by bad deals, they end up in debt, or they barely see a penny from their own music. But then there are the ones who beat the system, the artists who saw the traps, flipped the entire script, and built their own empires. Today, we're breaking down their playbook. And this is the fundamental truth we have to start with, right? The industry, by its very design, is built for the house to win, not necessarily the artist. But the stories we're about to get into prove it doesn't have to be that way. The key to winning isn't just raw talent. It's about understanding the game and knowing the value of the assets you're creating. So here's the most crucial thing to understand. There are two parts to every single song. You've got the master, which is the literal sound file, the finished product you hear on Spotify. Now, in a typical deal, the record label pays for all that studio time, and in return, they own that recording forever. Then you have the publishing. Think of this as the song's DNA, the lyrics and the melody. Owning these two things is the entire ballgame. It is the battleground where artists fight for their financial freedom. So to really get how they won, we're going to walk through their strategies step by step. We'll start with the classic traps so many artists fall into. Then we'll look at the rebels who avoided it completely. We'll see how others fought their way out from the inside, how some built empires so massive that music became just one piece of the puzzle. And finally, we'll put it all together into the ultimate blueprint for any artist trying to make it today. This is where it all begins. An artist gets a big check, a budget to make their album, marketing support. I mean, it sounds amazing on paper, but the price for all that is almost always signing away ownership of their master recordings. And what that means is, for decades, sometimes for their entire career, a corporation owns their most valuable creative work, and that severely limits their earnings and their control. So what's the first countermove? It's pretty simple, actually. Don't play the game at all. A whole new wave of artists decided to completely sidestep the traditional label system, choosing to keep total ownership and creative freedom right from day one. And I mean, the difference between these two paths is just night and day. On the label path, you're basically a high-paid employee. You get a piece of the pie, sure, but it's a small one. But on the independent path, you're the founder, the CEO, the whole shebang. You own it all, you control it all, and you keep it all. Yeah, it's more work, but the payoff can be absolutely massive. And the poster child for this strategy has got to be Chance the Rapper. This guy did the unthinkable. In 2016, he drops his album Coloring Book with a zero label backing and no physical copies. It was a streaming-only project that not only smashed its way onto the Billboard charts, but went on to win 3 Grammy Awards. I mean, that's something everyone in the industry thought was literally impossible without a major label machine behind you. So you're probably wondering, how did he make money if he was giving his music away for free? Well, he monetized everything else. He sold out a massive world tour, sold tons of merch, and landed huge brand deals with companies like Kit Kat and Apple. In a single year, Forbes estimated he raked in $33 million, all while owning 100% of his career. He proved the model could work on a huge scale. Okay, let's look at another indie powerhouse, Russ. His whole strategy was just pure grind and relentless consistency. For years, he released one brand new song every single week on SoundCloud. He didn't wait for permission or a marketing team. He just built a direct line to a massive fan base, one song at a time. By the time the labels came calling, he had all the power because he'd already done the hard work himself. But okay, what if you're already in the system? What if you signed that deal years ago? Well, this next strategy is for the artists who didn't start out independent, but made a calculated, bold power play to fight back and take back what was theirs. And no one embodies this fight more than Taylor Swift. She signed her first deal as a teenager, handing over the masters for her first 6 albums. Years later, that catalog was sold out from under her. When she was denied the chance to buy her own work back, she made an absolutely revolutionary move. She decided to re-record every single one of those albums. The Taylor's version releases were a colossal success, completely devaluing the original recordings she didn't own. It was the ultimate checkmate in a long, hard battle to reclaim her own legacy. Now, if Taylor's move was a public revolution, Frank Ocean's was a secret, perfectly executed heist. He played a long, strategic chess game to escape his contract with Def Jam Records, a label he felt had kind of sidelined him early in his career. Frank's plan was just a masterclass in strategy. See, he still owed Def Jam one more album, so he delivered Endless, a kind of low-key visual album that technically fulfilled his contract. Boom, done. But then, the very next day, he independently dropped his true masterpiece, Blonde, as a complete surprise. In just 24 hours, he was out of his deal, and his royalty share skyrocketed from around 14% to over 70%. He outsmarted the entire system in a single weekend. This brings us to our next strategy, and this one is all about thinking bigger than the music itself. These artists use their fame as a launchpad to build these diversified business empires, turning music from their only source of income into just one part of a massive portfolio. Just look at Rihanna. She became the world's richest female musician. But here's the crazy part. Over 80% of her billion-dollar net worth has nothing to do with her music. After she got control of her masters, she pivoted. She launched Fenty Beauty and Savage X Fenty, building these huge, inclusive brands that just took over the beauty and fashion industries. Music made her famous, but her business brain made her a billionaire. And then, of course, you have the original blueprint, Jay-Z. When no label would give him a deal, he just co-founded his own, Rockefeller Records. But he didn't stop there. He evolved from an artist to an executive, launching Roc Nation for entertainment and sports, buying the streaming service Tidal, and investing in everything from luxury champagne to fine art. He proved that an artist could be a businessman. And Beyoncé took this whole idea of ownership to another level with a strategy called vertical integration. Back in 2010, she founded Parkwood Entertainment. And it's not just a record label. It's an all-in-one empire that handles her music, her films, her tours, her fashion, everything. She doesn't have to answer to a label because she is the label. She built her own self-contained universe, controlling every single step of the process. So after looking at all these incredible stories of independence, of rebellion, of empire building, what does the playbook for a modern artist actually look like? Let's distill it all down. Here it is. It's really 4 key steps. First, build a direct line to your audience. Russ proved that if you show up consistently, you can build a loyal fan base that gives you all the leverage you need. Second, own your masters. This is the big one. The core principle. Fight for it from day one or be ready to play the long game like Taylor Swift to get it back. Third, diversify. Rihanna and Jay-Z showed that music can be the launch pad, not the ceiling. Build brands and businesses that make money totally separate from the charts. And finally, number 4, if you do sign with a label, learn to master the system. Use your leverage to negotiate a partnership, not a standard deal. License your music to them for a limited time instead of selling it forever. Stay in the driver's seat. And this quote from Jay-Z just perfectly captures the whole spirit of this new playbook. For decades, the industry tried to convince artists that focusing on money would somehow compromise their art. But these moguls have proved that business smarts don't kill creativity, they empower it. They give you the freedom to create whatever you want on your own terms. So this leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future. As more and more artists follow this blueprint, building their own audiences, owning their work, creating these huge, diversified empires, what role is even left for the traditional record label? Have these artists made them obsolete, or have they just forced them to finally change the rules of the game? The playbook is out there, and you can bet the next generation is watching very, very closely.